Okay, welcome back to Methough episode 21, which I'm upset that I didn't say that episode 20 uh in the last episode, and I could have made some joke about it being the Game Awards 2020 in episode 20 or something, but I completely dropped the ball on that. But nonetheless, we're here with episode 21, and as the title of this video says, we're going to be talking about the Capcom leak. So for all you out there who don't know, and most likely don't care, I don't know when this took place exactly, but basically not too long ago, well, I'm on IGN.com and the post was made on the 19th. So at this point, I'm pretty much super late, but I didn't hear about it until like a week ago. So I don't know. I don't know if it was that big of a story or maybe, I don't know. But bottom line, I'm just now getting around to it because I only heard about it last week. And I think a lot of people heard about it last week that care about this stuff. But anyway, the point is that Capcom ended up getting hacked essentially. Basically, from what IGN is saying, is that it was like a customized ransomware attack, to where somebody got access to their network or networks. I don't know why I was network. Why is it hard for me to say that? I've been up about an hour or two now. I should be okay. For some reason, my mouth is still not wanting to catch up on my brain or whatever. But bottom line, they end up getting hacked, and with this, a bunch of stuff end up coming out. And yeah, we're just gonna talk about the list of games that they got listed here. Now, apparently, some of these games may be out of order or may not be coming out when they're supposedly supposed to, based off this leak. But nonetheless, these games are coming out. And I just wanted to sit back and talk about the Capcom leaks, what we could expect and stuff like that. There's one in particular that I really want to talk about, but I'm going to save that for last. And it's honestly the main reason why I'm making this video. But I'll have timestamps so you can skip to whatever game you want. And yeah, so let's talk about it. And actually, with me saying that, you should know which one I'm talking about because it's going to be dead last in the timestamps on the video. But anyway, let's start off with Resident Evil Outage. Now, once again, a lot of these games don't really, a good chunk of them don't really have anything to go off of. They're just code names and stuff like that. So I don't know where Resident Evil Outage is going to be. I don't know what it's going to be about, but apparently it's coming out late next year. And with a lot of this stuff, especially with the Resident Evil stuff, because they have another one called Biohazard Apocalypse, I'm just going to speculate and I'm just going to say what I would want, or maybe what would be a great direction for Resident Evil to go in. And to be real with you, when you have a name like Resident Evil Outage, I don't really know what that could what that could entail. I think would be the proper word to use right there, or consist of. That would be a lot easier. But one of the things that I have been wanting from Resident Evil, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh hell no, yeah, get the old ghetto black girl on me. I know, but just hear me out. I think the one thing that Resident Evil should do, just to change it up, is sort of go for open world style. And when I say open world, I don't mean like super open world, like fucking Ubisoft levels of open world where the map is like this many square feet big, but then half of it's fucking empty. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm just talking about, to me, they should have like a semi-decent open world-esque. And when I say that, I sort of mean in like the veins of what or like slightly in the vein of what they did in RE7, where like how you could go in and out the mansion, and it was still linear and it was still corridor, but I mean how you had that freedom to explore once you really unlocked everything, how you could just sort of go wherever you wanted to and walk back and forth and go to this area and that area and stuff like that. I wish Resident Evil would kind of do that. Once again, I mean a very limited open world. I'm trying to figure out, and I don't want Dead Rising either. I'm not talking about like they just plop you in one area and that's all you have. Like I that's literally the only way that I can really explain it, is that it's like semi-open world, where you have an environment, you can go around and explore it, you can do what you need to do and gather supplies and stuff like that. But I feel like Resident Evil needs to take that route of just having a little bit more freedom and not always being confined to like corridors and straight linear paths. I feel like it should be opened up a little bit more. I don't know. But with Resident Evil Outage, I don't know if that's what that's going to consist of. I don't know what it's going to consist of because it's just a code name. But with that, that's what I'm really thinking they should go with, is something like that, and maybe do it in a city. I think that would be cool. Like if they took what basically you had in RE2 and RE3, where you was in Raccoon City, and they made it like that, like a semi-open world Raccoon City where you have to walk around and do things. I think that would be cool. And I don't know why I'm equated to a city when I hear the word outage, but I don't know. When I hear the word outage, I just think you in the middle of a city and it's a blackout and everybody's going crazy. I don't know. But that's supposed to be coming next year. The second one is Dragon's Dogma. What the fuck is wrong with me? Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, I know a lot of people love this game. And honestly, I've been meaning to play this game for quite some time. I know it's finally, well, not finally. I know it's been out on PC for quite some time now. And I've been meaning to play it. I originally tried to play it back on PS3. And I actually still have my copy of the game on PS3. But even though I wasn't a frame rate snob back then and I really didn't know about frame rate and stuff like that, I just remember the game running like dog shit on PS3 and it would hurt my eyes. And I think they had a lot of motion blur on there as well. So I just never really sat down and played it because of those two things. So I need to pick that up on PC and play it because I know a lot of people love that game. But that's supposed to be coming out in the year 2022. Once again, these dates are not solidified. They can change and stuff like that. But this is just what has come out from the leak. And I'm excited for it because the little bit that I have played of Dragon's Dogma, I don't know why it's hard for me to say that name. I did have a lot of fun with it. I really, really did. I love the combat and how semi-fluid it is. Sometimes it can be a bit clunky, but it's very fluid. I love the whole little companion system that they had. So maybe now they can really expand upon that and really push that game forward in the things that they was trying to do. But we won't know. But you know, time will tell. But I'm hoping, even with the little bit that I played, that they will improve on it because I did enjoy the amount that I did play. Then of course next is Street Fighter 6. Now the story behind this is fucking bananas. Now, I know a lot of people, once again, don't care about this stuff. They don't look up this stuff. They don't know anything about this stuff. They just play games and that's it. But because people like me care about this stuff and like to figure out what's going on behind the scenes, and especially if you watch Maximilian like I do, you would have some insight on what has been going on with Street Fighter. And apparently, there's been a lot of fucking crazy things that have gone on behind the scenes with Street Fighter, especially after Street Fighter 5 and how that turned out. Because apparently, Street Fighter 6 was already supposed to be out. Street Fighter 6 was already supposed to be out by now. But based off what Max was saying and some other things that I've read, apparently, Ono, who I think is the creator of Street Fighter, or I'm pretty sure he is, or he's basically the face of Street Fighter nonetheless, has been completely kicked out the company, or at least has been like knocked down a few pegs after Street Fighter 5, and he was trying to do some crazy bullshit with Street Fighter 6 and Capcom wasn't having it, and that's why it's been delayed. And it's just been a bunch of shit that I personally can't cover. You would have to go look up the respected sources that have talked about this. I think Matt McMuscles, if you don't know who that is, for me, the main thing that I know him for is where he goes over games. The series is called What Happened, and he talks about games that have either done terribly or that have done good, or whatever the case may be, studios, movies, and stuff like that. And he's done one on Street Fighter 5, and I think a lot of the stuff that I'm referring to was in that video. It's been a while since I've seen it, and he had Max in that video too. But bottom line, Street Fighter 6 should have been out, but now we finally know when it's coming out. It's coming out 2022 in the third quarter, and I honestly don't care. Despite how I was interested in the drama behind the game, I really never cared for Street Fighter. I have Street Fighter 5, and I played it when it first launched, and I haven't played it since. Because honestly, Street Fighter's just never been my cup of tea. I've always liked, outside of Mortal Kombat, I've always liked the tag games. That's always been my thing. Marvel has completely ruined me because that was like the first fighting game I really played was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So now that is my thing. I love the tags. I love the assist. I love the craziness. I love everything moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. That's just me now. Like, that's all I care for. Like I said, outside of MKX, or not MKX, but Mortal Kombat, it's so easy to say MKX. It just rolls off the tongue. That's why I always say that shit. Besides Mortal Kombat, I don't too much care for the two, like the one-on-one, fighters. So whatever. I don't care. But, I know people love Street Fighter. It's one of the biggest fighting games. It always will be. I mean, especially in the esports scene, we've seen how big that's gotten. So For all you Street Fighter fans out there, this is for you, 2022. But for me, I really don't give a shit. Then next we got Mega Man. That's supposed to be coming out as well around Street Fighter 6, as a matter of fact. Q3 of 2022. I don't know if it's going to be a reboot. I don't know if it's just going to be a brand new game in general. It just says Rockman. And then in, I guess, quotations, or not quotations, but like in parentheses, it says Mega Man in North America, because that's what we call him. And then over there, they call him Rockman. And then, or is it Rock and Roll? I think, yeah, it's Rock and Roll. Like, that's the original name of Mega Man. It was Rock, and then I think the dog was Roll or something like that. I'm not very familiar with Mega Man lore. I've barely even played a Mega Man game, but I think that's what it is. It's like, his name is Rock, and then somebody else's name is Roll. But then when he came to America, they changed his name to Mega Man. I don't know why. I mean, I do like the name Mega Man, though, so I'm not complaining. But, yeah, so that's coming out in 2022. I don't have too much on that to say about that because, like I said, I've never really played a Mega Man game. So I can't put much input and be like, oh, I want this, oh, I want that, because that's not really my cup of tea. Next is Monster Hunter 6. Now, this is funny because just like a lot of people, I really didn't play Monster Hunter until Monster Hunter World came out, and then Iceborne as well. Or, you know, I played Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. That's what I'm trying to say. And not like I played Monster Hunter World and then, you know, but whatever. So what I'm getting at with this is that my homeboy, who is a huge fucking fan of Monster Hunter now, because he was like me, he never really played Monster Hunter until World. Because I think for a lot of people, that was their first introduction to Monster Hunter, because, you know, Monster Hunter's been around for a long time, especially like on the PSP and stuff like that, on handhelds, Nintendo DS and stuff like that. But I think with it being on consoles, that's what really opened up a lot of people's eyes to Monster Hunter, and I know it does. I know it has done extremely well for Capcom. From what I understand, that was like one of the best-selling games when it came out. It did very, very well, and then the updates that they was putting out were very consistent. All the collaborations that they were doing, that was the main thing that kept me coming back. Like when they had the Horizon Zero Dawn, the Devil May Cry, and the list goes on and on and on. They just did so many collaborations that kept me coming back. I'm still upset they didn't do a Naruto one. I will give my homeboy Spiff credit for that. Shout out to you if you see this. He said it, and when he proposed that idea, I was like, why the fuck did they not do that? If they would have done a Naruto collab where you had to fight the Jinchurikis and you got like special armor from them, that shit would have been hard. Like dead ass. That shit would have been hard. But they never did. Hopefully they do it with Monster Hunter 6. But essentially where I'm getting at with all of this is that we was having this discussion about, and this was before the leak came out, about when they were going to be doing a new Monster Hunter. And I told him, I said, bro, you're probably not going to see that till 2022, if not 2023. And I was like, 2022 is the latest. I mean, the earliest, sorry. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't say something till 2024 because of everything that they got to do with this game. And now we know that it's supposed to be Q2 of 2023. I mean, yeah. Oh, man. 20. Oh, my God. That's too many things. 2023. That's fucking confusing me. I thought I said something wrong. I thought I said 2223 or some shit. It's too many twos and twit. I don't like all that shit. So I'm just going to say 20. Fuck, it's no other way I can really say it. 2023. Well, I mean, we're in the 20s, so I can't just say 23, but you know how niggas do. They always fucking forgetting shit. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. I'm definitely looking forward to that quite a bit of Monster Hunter 6, and then especially with the newer hardware, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do, because from what I understand, the load times already on Monster Hunter World on the newer consoles is a drastic change compared to what it was before. Like, it's so fucking fast, it's ridiculous. So I'm really hoping that they're able to utilize that stuff this time around and have a maybe even balance out the quality and performance to where you can still have a good looking game that still runs at 60. I think they should definitely be able to achieve that now. And yeah, I'm excited for that. I really am. And then next is Biohazard Apocalypse, and this is where I got my whole open world concept from, and that I was essentially talking about Resident Evil Outage. When I see Biohazard Apocalypse, now I know this is probably going to be different. It's probably going to be something like that shit that came with Resident Evil 3, that online shit. But I think this will be the time for them to really introduce an open world Resident Evil game. Once again, I'm not talking about a fully fledged one. I'm not talking about Ubisoft levels of open world. But I'm just talking about in general. Like, I think this will be a good time for them to introduce something different. And Apocalypse, the first thing I think of, despite how much I fucking hate those movies, and I literally just went on a whole ass rant about them in Dead Space Part 9. But when I think of Apocalypse, I think of like what the second or third Resident Evil movie was. It was the third one, where they was in the desert. That to me will be a fucking fantastic Resident Evil game. Once again, I hate that movie so much, but I think that's a great setting for a Resident Evil game. Or if not, go back to like Africa, where they had it in the more remote parts of Africa. To me, that will also be another great setting again. Like what they did with Resident Evil 5 was the more remote parts, or it eventually ended up getting to the remote parts, but then it ended up going into the fucking factories and all that other weird shit. But you get my point. I think that will be the great time to introduce one, or maybe you can make that a city setting as well. But I'm really hoping that eventually they would do a semi-open world Resident Evil. I really, really do. Not saying that they gotta have cars and all this other shit, and no, I'm not asking for that. I'm not saying we gotta have driving physics in Resident Evil. Not driving physics, but you know, driving sections and car physics in Resident Evil. Not asking for any of that. Nothing like that. I just want something that's a little bit more open world-ish and a little bit more free. And I feel like Apocalypse would be the perfect example of that, especially if you really wanted to, because they like coming to America now, and they, you know, putting a lot of their games in the setting of America, which I know they've always kind of been, or not kind of, they always have been, except for 4, which takes place in Europe. But most of the time, you know, like Raccoon City and all of that stuff is pretty much based in America, you know. In the Spencer Mansion and all of that stuff. I feel like they could really, especially like with Resident Evil 7, how they was in like Louisiana or wherever it was, they could really do that and get like a old dusty ass city or something like that. Like, you know, America, especially in the middle of America, you know, that's where they call it the Rust Belt, because, you know, it's all fucking dry heat and it's, you know, dusty and all that bullshit. I feel like they could really utilize that and make a semi-open world, like dusty ass rundown city apocalypse type thing. Like, I really feel like they could do that. Now, whether or not they do it, I don't know. But I would really like them to go in some direction to give us a little bit more freedom with a Resident Evil game. The next is Street Fighter, or Super Street Fighter 6. I mean, what do you expect? They always do this shit. For some reason, they can't just make one fucking game. They always have to make like another Street Fighter game, another Marvel. It's like they just never learn a lesson. At least this time is going to be a year. It seems like, if not a little bit more, a year and some change before they drop Super Street Fighter 6. But golly, dude, like, I don't know how too many people who really care for this shit. I think a lot of people have grown tired of this shit, especially with games nowadays. Because I know a lot of people don't like that model of them live service models, but it's like, if you are going to do that, then just make one fucking game and constantly update it. You don't always have to do that. Like, I don't even like how Mortal Kombat has done it. How they've done the Aftermath, and then they've done Ultimate and all of that. Like, just make it one game. And then, yes, if you want to come out with additional shit and you're going to make me purchase it, then do that. But just don't keep on adding new names on top of it just to make it seem like it's something new when it's really not. Nigga, it's the same fucking game. You just slap Ultimate on top and it's supposed to make it a new game. No, it doesn't. I think the Game Awards even tried to use that. And it's like, no, nigga, Mortal Kombat came out last year. Like, the fuck you talking about? Or did it come out this year? I think it came out last year. Did Mortal Kombat come out in 2019? I think it did. I don't think it came out this year. I think it did come out last year. I can't remember. I'll have to go look up my videos and when I posted. But either way, because that means if they've came out with this many revisions of Mortal Kombat within a year, that's fucking ridiculous. I don't think it came out this year. But anyway, I'm tired of talking about it. Nonetheless, fuck all that Super Street Fighter 6 shit. Like, just make one game and just add to it. Now we have Final Fight. I cannot, here, I'm just going to look this game up because I know I've seen it and heard this name before, but it's not coming to me. I know it's an old, oh, this is whatchamacallit. This is where Hagar comes from. I said Hagar. This is where Hagar comes from. That's right. They're making a remake of this? Who the fuck asked for this? Beat 'em ups are not really even that big anymore. Yeah, this is where Hagar and Poison comes from. That's right. That's exactly where they come from. I don't remember anybody ever asking for this. I'm just going to be real with you. I've never heard anybody, even the most dedicated Capcom fans, say, hey, I want a new fucking Final Fight. Like, literally, I've never heard anybody say that. But for some reason, they thought it would be a good idea to make one. Oh, that's where Hugo comes from, too. Is that Hugo? No, is that Hugo? That looks like Hugo. I'm pretty sure that's Hugo. I'm looking at screenshots right now. That's why I'm saying it. And I'm 99% sure that's Hugo Big Ass. I think it is. It's not giving me any names up top. It gave me Hagar. It says Abigail is from this game, too. Really, the main character name is Guy? Really, that's his name? Wow. Oh, Cody's in here, too. Is this where he comes from as well? I think this is where he comes from. I thought he was always a Street Fighter character. As you see, I don't know too much about Final Fight, but I think that is Hugo over there, too. It does look like Hugo. But if that's his name, I think it is his name, that big-ass nigga from Street Fighter 4. But nonetheless, I don't know about this one. I've never really played Final Fight, so I don't give a shit too much about this one. But hey, for all you Final fans out there, you're getting what you want. Now, Power Stone, on the other hand, this one I know a lot of people love, and I've played some of Power Stone. Once again, I'll put it to you like this: all old Capcom games I'm not familiar with. I didn't grow up with the systems that a lot of these games end up coming out on. Especially Power Stone, because if I'm not mistaken, that was on the Dreamcast, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is, because every time I hear about Power Stone, it's always synonymous with the Dreamcast. So I'm 99% sure this shit came out on the Dreamcast. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Oh, it actually did. Yeah, there you go. It's his platform, it's Dreamcast. So yeah, I never owned a Dreamcast. I didn't really start getting, because my mom was like, I'm not buying all those fucking consoles, so I never got the chance to play Power Stone like that. But I did play it with a couple of my friends back in college, and that shit was hella fun. So, and people have been asking for Power Stone for years now, so this is good that Capcom is finally listening, and they're finally trying to do, and bring back a lot of their older franchises. But if you're gonna bring back an older franchise, and one that I am familiar with, even though it was way after the fact and it was even relevant, was Rival Schools, or whatever the other fucking name it is. Like, I keep on forgetting. It's like multiple names for Rival Schools. Project Justice, I think that's the other name. Whatever it is, right? Whatever the fuck you want to call that game. Rival Schools, Project Justice, whatever the fuck. I don't know. Bottom line, that series is fucking fire. Once again, I didn't play that game till way later. Yeah, it's called Project Justice. I didn't play that game until way later. Way later. I remember because I was in college once again, and it was with the same group of people, and we played Project Justice / Rival Schools, and I remember playing that, and it literally blew my mind. Now, that's when you know you've made a good game, that when somebody plays your games 15 years after the fact, or however long it's been since Project Justice came out. So here, I'm looking at it now. Is it called Rival Schools in America and then Project Justice in Japan? Yes. I think that's what it is. Let me look it up. Okay, so I'm guessing, so the first one is called Rival Schools, and then the sequel is called Project Justice. Okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. I thought it was one of them weird change things, or weird name change things, like fucking Rockman and Mega Man. So no, the first one is called Rival Schools, and the second one's called Project Justice. So that's what it is. So either way, one of those two I fucking played, and that game blew my mind. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I was addicted to that shit. And I really would love for them to bring that back. I really would, because that game was so fucking fun. Because what I liked about it is that it still had the same pace and the same speed of Marvel vs. Capcom, especially 2, but it was just like a side, like not a Mortal Kombat type, because it was a 3D arena. So like old Virtua Fighter, Tekken, and stuff like that. Look, I know I'm not supposed to be talking about this. I'm supposed to be talking about Power Stone, but once again, I don't have too much to say about Power Stone. And going back to what I originally said, if they're going to be bringing back old property, just bring back that game. Because I like the chick with the camera. I don't remember her name, but she reminded me of Frank West, and I thought she was fucking fire. And it's just like, I would really want them to bring that game back. I would really want them to bring that game back. So, I know we're supposed to be talking about Power Stone. I'm excited for Power Stone because, like I said, I have played some of that and I did enjoy it. And we do need games like that. I feel like everything is always based offline and monetization and not really about bringing people together to have fun. It's always about competition, and not saying that Power Stone wasn't supposed to be competitive. I mean, clearly it was, but I don't know. It's just something about Power Stone from what I have played. It's just meant to sit down with your buddies and have fun with it. And I don't think we really have too many games like that. We do, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like that game, you could definitely have 4 people come over or 3 people come over, how many people they allow, and just sit down and have a good time. And it necessarily doesn't have to be online. You know what I'm saying? That's essentially where I'm trying to get at. Try to go back to the old school days of couch co-op and couch play and stuff like that. I feel like Power Stone probably be able to do that. But, you know, they'll still implement online and niggas just play with their friends online, which ain't nothing wrong with that, but whatever. But they need to bring back Rival School / Project Justice. They really need to. Like, that game is fucking fire. If there was a way for me to play that game without having to emulate it, I would definitely do that shit. But the only way that you will be able to play the game, unless you buy a Dreamcast and then you buy the game, which probably goes for who knows how much, that's the only way you're gonna be able to play it. And yeah, so it sucks, but I really do enjoy that game. I really do think it's good. And then Ultra Street Fighter 6, I don't care. Once again, this Street Fighter, they just gonna keep on doing this shit, so whatever. Then last but as a matter of fact, no, I take that back. There is hope for Rival Schools. I thought about that earlier, but I forgot talking about all that other shit. There is some hope because Capcom is releasing one of the characters from Rival Schools in Street Fighter 5. I can't remember her name. I think it starts with an A. It's not, I want to say, it's like, I don't want to say her name and be wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think it's like Asura or something like that. I think it starts with an A. Bottom line, she is a character from Rival School / Project Justice, whichever one she's from. And a lot of people got hype about that, including me, because now it's Capcom finally fucking acknowledging that they have that series. And for them to put her in the game, honestly, to be real with you, when she comes out, that's when I'll probably play Street Fighter 5. Dead ass. Like, I'm not even joking, because there hasn't been a character in Street Fighter 5 that I really care for. Like, I think G looks kind of cool. I've always thought Urian looks cool, but I've just never really wanted to play the game. But if she comes out and she's fucking fire, even my girl Sakura couldn't make me go and play that game. Like, I just don't care for Street Fighter that much. And I love Sakura. She's my favorite character in Street Fighter, but I was just like, yeah, I don't care enough to go and learn you. I really don't. But if she comes out and she's fun, which I think she's supposed to be coming out next year, or at least in the next year or two, which is a bit much. Like, golly, she's coming out real late. But I think she's supposed to be coming out maybe next year. Don't quote me on that. I'm gonna go play that game just so I can see how she is. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But anyway, that's enough of my Street Fighter Project Justice Rival School shit. And like I said, Street Fighter, whatever. And then last but not least is Resident Evil Hank, but they say in quotations Hunk, or most likely Hunk. I don't know what this is about. Maybe this is them finally giving him a full backstory in his own game, because Hunk has been around for like the longest and nobody really knows anything about him. I think there's like a few story things, but not too much. But yeah, that would be cool because everybody likes Hunk. I don't know one Resident Evil person who doesn't like Hunk. It's just something about him. He looks cool. He plays cool. He snaps people's necks or zombies' necks. Like, he just does a bunch of cool shit. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that. I will as well. I'll be looking forward to it as well. So shout out to Resident Evil Hunk, if that even is a thing. Or maybe it is about some nigga named Hank. Maybe it's about Hank from Breaking Bad. So maybe like they got the copyright, or they was able to talk to AMC and got Hank from Breaking Bad, and now he's in the Resident Evil universe. Who knows? But hopefully it is about Hunk, and he's walking around snapping people's necks and all that bullshit. We'll see. And then last but not least, like I said, it's already been spoiled because of the timestamps. But I'm still going to build up that suspense, or not suspense. I'm still going to do this dramatic ass lead up to it. Last but not least, Resident Evil 4 Remake. This is what I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. So for all you out there who don't know, or most likely don't give a shit, which is most likely the latter half, Resident Evil 4 is one of my fucking favorite games of all time, right? is Resident Evil 4 and Star Fox 64. They're both in the top slot. I can't put one over the other. It's just like The Rock and Stone Cold. I can't put one over the other. It's literally impossible for me to do that. I'm going to go into my favorite comedians. One of them is going to be a controversial opinion, but I'm just going to go ahead and say this. Despite what he has done, right, that doesn't make his content in his shows, especially Louis, any less funny, okay? Yes, it's fucked up what he did, but the nigga's still funny regardless. You can't make something not funny. If that's all I can say. I'm not gonna get into that tangent in that rant. But bottom line is just like my favorite comedians are Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle. Like, they're both in the top slot. I cannot put one over the other. And that's what it is when it comes to Resident Evil 4 and Star Fox 64. I can't put one over the other, right? And plus, it's my list, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. That's how I always follow it up with, or what I always follow it up with. It's my list, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. But bottom line, Resident Evil 4 and Star Fox 64 are two of my favorite games of all time. So when I heard about the Resident Evil 4 remake, I was costumistic, which is a combination of cautious and optimistic. I done said that shit so much in my head now, I can only say costumistic. But it's basically a combination of the word cautious and optimistic. And I still almost fucked up saying it then. I was about to say costumistic. But the thing about it is that this Resident Evil 4 remake, or I'm just going to say RE4 remake. I'm not going to keep on saying the whole fucking title. The thing about RE4 remake is that honestly, this has been rumored for quite some time now. And this has been buzzing for quite some time now. But this whole leak had pretty much solidified it. And I just hit my microphone. I apologize. Because when RE2 remake came out, a lot of people was like, okay, it's inevitable for them to do RE3 remake. And then they did RE3 remake, and then everybody just naturally said, hey, that means that RE4 remake is around the corner. And this was honestly, a lot of people were speaking about this, if I'm not mistaken, right before RE3 remake was coming out. I don't remember if it was right before or a little bit after RE3 remake it came out. There was already videos and stuff about people saying, yeah, RE4 remake is around the corner. And then I think not too long after RE3 remake came out, Capcom had officially said, like, yeah, we are working on RE4 and stuff like that. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's how it went. That was sort of the timeline of it. And then one of the guys who was working on one of the developers was like, yeah, we start the RE4 remake before we even start doing RE2 remake. I think that's what he said. Don't quote me on that. Once again, a lot of this is based off my memory, which could be completely wrong, but I think I have a pretty good memory for the most part. And I think that's what happened, or that's how the timeline played out, was that, like I said, the developer was like, yeah, we've been working on the RE4 remake before we even started on the RE2 remake or something like that. I think that's what he said. Or maybe it was before RE3 remake. But bottom line, as they was working on 2 and 3, they were already working on 4, something like that. So it's been in development for quite some time. And the reason why I say I'm costumistic about it, right, is because despite it being one of my favorite games of all time, it has nothing to do with that. I mean, well, I'm not gonna lie, a little bit it does have, because now I'm looking at it with a fucking magnifying glass. Like, I'm just like looking at it like, what the fuck are you gonna do, right? But at the end of the day, even if they do fuck it up horrifically, I still have the original. It's not like they're gonna stop selling the original one because they've made so much money on it and they put it on every fucking platform. I doubt they are. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if before you know it, it's on PS5 and Xbox Series X. I would be genuinely fucking surprised if it's not going to come out on there, because that's how much they release that shit. And as a matter of fact, they'll probably do it before they drop RE4 remake. I fucking bet you $1 million they're going to do that. I bet you $1 million fucking dollars that they're going to drop that game either before RE4 remakes come out, or remake come out, or they just going to release it in general, because they've released it on every fucking console since the PS2 and GameCube. It's like ridiculous how much they've released that game. But this is supposed to come out in Q4 2022, so we're only 2 years away. At this point, it's December, so pretty much we're a year away at this point. Or, well, if it's Q4, we're technically, you could say we are 2 years away, because that means it won't be coming out till around this time in 2022. But back to what I was saying, the reason why I'm so costumistic about it, outside of it being my favorite game, is because the whole reason why you do a remake is to completely reimagine and change a lot of what the predecessor was, right? So the reason why RE2 hit so well is because they were able to fully utilize today's technology, right? And they was basically able to completely what's the word I'm looking for? Fuck, I just had it and I lost it. I hate when I do this shit. They was able to fully bring to life what they've always envisioned for RE2, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So from the hallways to the zombies to characters, like, they were finally able to bring that to what they always wanted it to look like. And the same thing with RE3, you know, and then bring it from a different perspective as well, which is always the huge thing. You know, that's the reason why Final Fantasy VII Remake hit for so many people, because it wasn't that turn-based shit. It was more of the Final Fantasy 15 Crisis Core type combat, whereas it's a lot more free-flowing and stuff like that. That's why it hit so hard for so many people, and they was able to bring in more people. And that's why the Resident Evil 2, 3, remake, the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake hit so well, which I know for a lot of people out there, Resident Evil 2 remake 3 remake didn't hit that well, and I'm right there with you. I did not care for that game as much. But bottom line, the simple fact that they changed the camera perspective, the controls are way better. They're a lot more modern. They were able to do a lot more things with the lighting and textures and just everything. Basically, you know, a remake, building the game from the ground up. That's what made it hit so well. That drastic change from fixed camera angles, low polygon characters, low textures, all of that shit, to what we got now. That's what makes a remake what it is, and that's why they hit so well, and that's why a lot of people like them, mainly in the case of RE2. But when you take something like Resident Evil 4, that's so influential, right? And I'll get into that in a second. I was going to bring up a point, but I'll say that for later. When you have something that's so influential as Resident Evil 4, and I know here recently, I've seen this over the past couple years, where a lot of people like to shit on Resident Evil 4 for some reason, and I really hate that. And it's not even having anything to do with it being one of my favorite games. It's just like, why can't you give the game its flowers when it's done so much for the industry? And I don't know why people like to shit on Resident Evil 4. Like, I really don't get it. Like, if you don't like the game, that's cool. I mean, that's just how it is. Not everybody's gonna like every game. But I just hate when motherfuckers hate on the game because they just want to be different. Because it's widely known and widely accepted that Resident Evil 4 is one of the greatest games of all time, right? But even if you don't like the game for a story or anything like that, what it has done for gaming, you shouldn't take away from it. You shouldn't ignore it just because of how you want to personally feel about the game. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Resident Evil 4 is more important than what a lot of people really know and what a lot of people understand. A lot of people think that Resident Evil 4 is just one of the best games of all time because it's just a good game, or it's what people say, or whatever the case may be. But Resident Evil 4 is more influential than anybody could ever know. And I'm going to break it down for you right here. The reason why Resident Evil 4 is so huge and why it's so influential and people love it is because if it wasn't for Resident Evil 4, your Gears of War, your Dead Space, your Mass Effects, your Divisions, your Ghost Recon Wildlands, the newer Splinter Cells, anything that has a third person over the shoulder camera, you have Resident Evil 4 to thank. If you're a Devil May Cry fan, you have Resident Evil 4 to thank. Resident Evil 4 is influential. It revolutionized the gaming industry more than what people give it credit for or what they know. If you don't believe me, go look up third-person games before Resident Evil 4. The camera was always centered behind the person. Until RE4 came out and put it over the shoulder, it was always behind the character. Always behind the character. Once Resident Evil 4 came out and introduced that perspective, every game has done it since then. Even the new God of War has third-person over-the-shoulder camera. You have Resident Evil 4 to thank for that. You think I'm lying about Gears of War? I will never fucking forget that. There was an interview with Cliffy B. I don't know which one it is. I just hit my microphone again. I apologize. I don't know which one it is, but go and look it up. And he said in that interview that Resident Evil 4 was one of his biggest influences. Dead Space is another one. Resident Evil 4 was one of its biggest influences. I'm not making this shit up. This is facts. So when you have something like that that's so big and that was so influential to the gaming industry, people like me are going to look at that game really fucking hard when you're remaking it. Because Where do you go? The original one revolutionized the gaming industry. Introduced a camera perspective that now everybody uses. It's so commonplace that people don't even think twice about it when they see it. So where do you go? Yes, you can use the third person over the shoulder camera, but then that really wouldn't be a remake. Hence why I went into that long thing of what I was talking about before with RE2 remake. That's what makes that remake so impactful, is because you now have that different camera angle. You went from a fixed camera angle to now a third person over the shoulder. It brings new life to the game. Where do you go with a game that has done that? Where do you go with the game that coined that? You're not going to go back to fixed camera angle because you know people don't like that. So where are you going to go? You could go back to third person, but is it really a remake at that point? Because you stick with the same camera angle. Yeah, you can move the story around, cut out certain things, but is it really a remake at that point? If it's still the same thing, if it still controls the same way, maybe just a little bit more fluid? Not really, because then at that point I could go play Resident Evil 5, which done that. Takes the controls of Resident Evil 4 and makes it better. So that leaves first person. That's all that leaves. Once again, I can actually bring up my point now. Can you still do that and it be considered a remake? Absolutely. Look at RE1 remake. From what it originally was on the PlayStation or whatever the fuck it came out on the time, the original one, to what they end up doing on the GameCube. A lot of people consider that to be a remake. Capcom considers that to be a remake. And it still has the fixed camera angles. And a lot of people prefer that one. But to me, if you're going to do a remake, to me, that camera perspective and you completely changing how you see the game, to me, is what really makes a remake a remake. Would Final Fantasy VII really been a remake if they would have stuck to the turn-based style from the original one? They redid everything new, you know, like basically just imagine what the game is now, but it's turn-based. Talking about you walk up to a person, the camera zooms out, you get the you get all of that shit, but it's just with the newer characters or newer character models and newer, you know, just the newer look. I don't think too many people really consider that to be a remake. It would just be like, oh, I guess it's a remake because it's newer character models and, you know, newer, you know, everything, but it's still the same camera perspective and it's still the same turn-based combat from the original one. So that's how I feel about this. It's like, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to change it to first person, which I'm not against, by the way. I'm just setting all of this up because, like I said, this is what I've been wanting to talk about for long. So I'm going to fucking talk about it, whether people like it or not. To me, this is what they're going to have to do in order to make it a remake, is they're going to have to make it first person. Now, I know that's going to be tricky because... And I've thought about this, dude. Like, you don't understand how much I've thought about this because of how much I love this game. I understand to a lot of people, they're gonna be like, well, how could they do that? But then, you know, when you do your spin moves and all of that and you do your kicks, you know, you're not going to be able to see it. It could be disorienting and stuff like that. But that's why you zoom out the camera. Will it get repetitive? Will it get old? Absolutely. But it gets old in the original game. When you just walk up to somebody and you kick them or you fucking do a suplex or whatever, it gets old after a while, so it doesn't really matter. But what I'm saying is that, to me, that would be the best way to solve that problem. Is zooming out when you're about to do a suplex or something, then zooming right back in into first person. That, to me, is an easy solve. But to me, that is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to go first person. Because then at that point, it's not much of a remake. It's just a retread with better graphics. Now, when it comes to the story, that's the one that I really don't know. I know a lot of people don't like the castle, but a lot of people tolerate the castle more than the island. And that's the part that's kind of iffy for me too. The island is not that great, but the problem, or the thing about the island that makes it so good though, is that you got the regenerators. Or regenerate doors, however the fuck you want to say it. That you have those. That, to me, is where the island always kind of redeems itself, is that it gives you that last enemy that kind of makes you go, oh shit. And then you got the fight with Krauser that, to me, is always good. So when it comes to the story, I don't know how much they're going to be able to change. And how much they're going to rework. How much are they going to include Luis this time around? I love Luis, so I hope he gets more this time around. I hope they give him his own side story. You know, are they going to bring back Separate Ways? Are they going to redo that? Are they just going to leave that out? You know, like, what else are they going to do? What else are they going to do when it comes to the story? And that's another reason why I'm optimistic, is because I love the original story so much. I love how cheesy it is. I love how over the top it is. I wonder how they're going to approach it. Because that's what made Resident Evil 4 still fit in so well when it came to the original ones, is that it still had that same cheesiness that the original games had. But if you look at how they've done RE2 Remake, you look at how they've done RE3 Remake, they've made them very serious. Especially RE2 Remake, which I'm not knocking at. Once again, RE2 Remake is fucking phenomenal. Like, it's top tier Resident Evil game for me. Like, that is no joke. If we're talking about like a tier list of Resident Evil games, it would be RE4 than RE2 Remake. That's not a fucking joke. I love RE2 Remake. That game was phenomenal. But you can tell they took it a lot more serious. It's a lot more grounded. One of the things that make Resident Evil 4 so special, that anybody can tell you that's played that game, is that it has this B-movie aspect to it, right? It knows what it is. You have this wisecracking Leon, or joke cracking Leon, wisecracking, whatever. You get my point. I probably said that wrong, but you get my point. Wise ass joke cracking Leon. There we go. And that's what I meant to say. I said wisecracking, but you get my point. You get my point. He's a wise ass. You know, he's fucking talking shit to the people he's trying to take down. Like, you know, he's doing little fucking, like, petty shit, like when Salazar fucking presses the button and then he falling down that pit and he throws the hook thing to hook himself on, and then he sees the little horn and Salazar's like listening, and he shoots a bullet in and like, fuck you, I'm not dead. Like, it's little things like that. Or like how he's antagonizing Salazar the whole time he's talking to him on the comms. Like, that's what makes the game so fucking fun. And like his interaction with Ada when they're on the boat, and she fucking just hops off the boat and the boat starts doing a 360 and he's like trying to control it and he's like, women and shit like that. Like, all of that shit, that is what makes that game so fun, because it's so self-aware and it does it to the T. So if you take that, but then you make it more serious, like they've done with the previous remakes, talking about RE2 and RE3, you're gonna kind of lose the feel for what it is. You see what I'm saying? You're gonna lose that feel of what makes Resident Evil 4 what it is. Because, don't get me wrong, I don't mind something being more dramatic, right? Being more serious. But Resident Evil 4? You want that to be more serious? I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm just optimistic, man. There's so many things that are going through my head that I could talk about when it comes to this game, because, like I said, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I played it for so long that it's just like, I don't want them to fuck it up because they want to do whatever the fuck. Resident Evil 4 is special because of what it's accomplished and what it does, and it does it well. And how influential it was. And I just don't want them to lose that because whatever they may think may be for the better, or because they truly want to make it different. I don't know. I just want the best for it. At the end of the day, yes, I still do have the original one, point blank period. So if I don't like it, I can just go back and play the original one another 12,000 times and I would just be just as happy. But I feel like there's a lot of potential here, and I just don't want them to fuck it up because of whatever. I don't know. I don't work at Capcom. I don't know who's the lead or anything like that. I hit my microphone again. I apologize. It's just, I move my hands when I talk and the microphone just be in the way some damn time. But I want a lot out of it. And if you can't tell, all of this is coming from love, because I love this game so much. And I just want the best for it. It's like if you have a child, you know, you always want the best for your child. You don't ever want them to, you don't want to ever, and I don't have any children, but I'm just saying from the perspective of if I had a child, you don't ever want your child to do wrong. You always want the best from them, but you just know that they gonna fuck up. It's a possibility that they can fuck up and go in a completely different direction than what you wanted them to. And that's exactly what it is with Resident Evil 4 Remake. I want it to do good. I want it to be excuse me, I have to clear my throat. I want it to be the best of the best. I want it to be championed as like, oh, look, this is the perfect remake for Resident Evil 4. I want to be able to scream from the hilltops, this is the best remake I've ever played, right? Like, perfect example, and then I promise you I'm going to wrap this video up. I know I'm talking way longer than I should, but whatever. I said I'm going to talk about Resident Evil 4, so I'm fucking talking about Resident Evil 4. I could honestly skip the other shit and just talked about this. But I essentially want to feel how a lot of people feel about the RE7 remake. Like I feel how I think a lot of people felt about RE7. Like, you know, a lot of people just was hoping that the game would be good. They were waiting on it and waiting on it and waiting on it. And when it came out, for the most part, what I heard, it was a fantastic remake. For Final Fantasy VII fans, diehard fans, from casuals, like everybody loves it. And especially the hardcore fans, you can hear them screaming from the fucking rooftop saying, this is the remake we've been waiting for. This is what we wanted. We're happy. That's what I want to be. That's what I'm feeling right now for Resident Evil 4. I want to be sitting on some fucking rooftop somewhere yelling out, RE4 remake did it. RE4 remake did it. And that's all I got to say. I could go on for another 10 to 20 minutes breaking down the individual gameplay aspects that they could change and stuff like that. But I'm not going to do that because at the end of the day, I just hit my microphone again. God damn it. I keep on doing that shit. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to bore you guys. I'm pretty sure I already have. I know a lot of you, when you see that this is going to be almost an hour, you're going to be like, nope. And you're just not going to watch it. But if you fuck with RE4 like I do, hopefully you understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully you get my sense of passion about this game and why I have been talking about it for so long, because I just want this game to be good. And yes, Capcom, do not get rid of the briefcase and playing Tetris with the briefcase. If you get rid of that, we throwing hands. I don't give a fuck if you are in Japan. I'm going to fly my ass over there, find your headquarters, and I'm going to throw hands with every fucker in there, because that is one of the best things about RE4 is playing Tetris in the briefcase. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. I don't know one person who hates it. Everybody loves the playing Tetris with the briefcase. It's one of the best things you can do. And you bet not replace my fucking fish either. Oh yeah, I'm getting real in depth with this shit. Don't you dare get rid of my fish, okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, shameless plug, go watch my playthrough. Go watch my playthrough and you'll know what I'm talking about my fish. And then don't get rid of my damn bird nest either. Go and watch my playthrough if you don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to bird nest and fish. You better not get rid of my fish. You better not get rid of my fucking bird's nest, or we gonna fucking fight the entire time. I mean, every employee in that fucking building, we throwing hands, okay? And I don't even know how to fight, but goddamn it, I'll be looking like Hajime no Ippo at the end of that shit, nigga. I'll be looking like Lil Mac in that bitch. I would just be just throwing straight, just lefts and rights and hooks and uppercuts, nigga. Fuck with me if you want to. I'm bullshit. I'm wilding, but I'm just hype. I'm just happy, man. I'm hype. I'm ready for it. And yeah, man. Hopefully 2021 won't be a dog shit year like 2020 has been, but hopefully it goes by fast enough to where I can get my damn RE4 remake. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. And I should have said this earlier, then I'm gonna end it to you. I'm gonna end it right here. But because when I was really talking about RE4 and it being one of my favorite games of all time, that's why that was the first game I played on my channel. I know I really didn't have to put that in there, but I wanted to say that earlier just to solidify how much I love the game. That's why it was the first game that I posted on my channel, because it is my favorite game of all time, or one of them. And I love that game that much to where I was like, this is going to be the first game I put on my channel. So that's it. Let me know what you guys think. If you've even made it this far. If you have, let's see, what can I say? Yeah, there we go. If you made it this far, just put Project Justice, or put Rival School / Project Justice Remake. There you go. Or put I Want One. Something along the lines of that. Just make a comment talking about Project Justice or rival schools if you made it this far. I don't care what you put around it, but just put something around that to let me know that you made it this far. And if you like this, like and share it, all that bullshit. And yeah, I'm out.